Hello everybody, Mr. Storm here. Welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, Old World Blues. In the last episode, we pushed our way through the NCR while they were distracted by Caesar's Legion, and we were able to drive pretty much through them at will, and we eventually forced them to capitulate. And then in the peace conference, we had sufficient war score to actually annex the entire thing. So, that's good. But it also presents some issues in that we now have consumed enormous amounts of territory that now has to be pacified. And we now have Caesar's Legion as a neighbor that we're going to have to deal with. So we need to massively grow our army. We need to actually start building a navy now, because we actually have dockyards. So let's go ahead and actually get convoys going. We might as well. So, yeah, and we have over 100 military workshops that we now need to figure out what to do with. I think we just go ahead and well, we don't have enough scrap metal. All right. So let's see. Okay. That will do. We don't have enough circuitry. We don't have enough scrap metal. I think we might just need to wait for full integration to take place. We apparently cannot trade for anything. Well, let me just unpause it here for a second. Sentry bot Mark 1. Let's get iBots. Wow, we are not doing anything?
Enclave here. This is Enclave main comm.
Alright, there is some of our armor. That goes there. Assault airship. Division support blimp, tactical anti-armor blimp, and Cass interceptor. Interesting. Let's go with tactical anti-armor blimp. Oh, and we also had the whole Vault 33 event chain happen because we now control it. All right, last of the Western Enclave. Our search team is reporting we've made contact with the Mojave Enclave, or rather what's left of them anyway. They've been hiding out in the Mojave under the NCR's nose and were hesitant to reveal themselves during our broadcast back in 2274, but when they detected our signals coming from much closer than the depot, they decided to reach out. According to our search team, they are not in the best shape, as attrition and intervening 30 years left them in no better station than we were back in 2275. They've been holed up in an old command bunker northeast of Vegas, keeping the place barely functional through scavenging missions in and around Vegas. As for their personnel, it's just like how the depot was. Those that were around during the fall of age, their children make up the bulk of their strength of numbers, and there is a new generation being trained from birth, all wielding the same power armor and weapons they had since the fall of Navarro. They're in a sorry state and are glad that some sort of Enclave force has come back to power in the West. Speaking with General Jameson, turns out they went through their own little schism between hardliners and radicals akin to our reformers and purists. Thankfully, the radicals won, otherwise we might be having a resurgent purist in our midst. Additional vertibirds have been dispatched to bring them to Fort Sierra and get them settled in. Alright. NCR loyalists assassinate commander. The menace of Washington. This morning, the body of Thomas Rimmy Rim was discovered in his forward outpost. The commander was shot at point blank several times with small arms weapons. The local Enclave forces suspect NCR loyalists to be behind the cowardly assassination. They have arrested the NCR civilians that have been tasked with maintaining the base, but no one has come forward and confessed. Our forces in the area are restless and eager to find a culprit. Not doing so would certainly harm morale. Let's see, we lose some war support and stability. Or we just lose stability. Alright, well, we'll just lose the stability. Means we need a new commander. The menace from Washington. The Washington Brotherhood, fresh from its conquest of Troll War and others, lusts for more. More resources, more slaves, more technology. But New California is still bitterly divided. It's extending its claws towards the reunited states. Washington Brotherhood, prepare for war against you. Alright, well, we need to deal with that then. Frumentarius effects. As America wakes from its slumber and the wasteland begins to rally to our cause, a former member of the Legion has appeared in New Reno, asking to join our army. He has taken the name Ulysses after a great soldier who fought to unite America under one flag, and vows that when he set his flag down, it'll be over his body, or a nation he believes in. Alright. Medical scavenge party attacked. One of our medical scavenging parties near Hawthorne Medical Laboratories has been reportedly attacked by a bizarre mutant we've never seen before. They managed to kill it, and while normally a post-war monster wouldn't attack wouldn't make it this high up in the chain of command, the officer in charge of the party has reported the monster was eerily human. And the creature itself is being hauled in for an autopsy. We do know that the area was quarantined by the NCR Army before our arrival, which is why the scavenging team was sent in. We checked records for the area, and the Hawthorne Medical Laboratories was a subsidiary of Vault Tech, and what's worse, Vault 4 is in the vicinity of the labs. Our records show that Vault 4 was an experiment in a society run by scientists, and after the war, they began experimenting on hybridizing humans with animals. The Vault was deemed a failure long before the test subject rebelled against the scientists because of this, and monitoring of Vault 4 was cut off. If the Vault has a population of human-animal-monster hybrids in the largest city on the West Coast, we could have a crisis on our hands. Ah, yes, this is also a reference to the show. All right. Well, if you guys are preparing for war, then we need to send more forces north.
Enclave here. This is Enclave main comm.
Well, I really don't want to leave the border with Caesar's Legion completely undefended.
Enclave here.
If the Brotherhood is going to be a problem, then we need to deal with it.
This is Enclave main comm.
Send the army north. Opening Vault 4. Despite the unrest and turmoil throughout California, the army did not spare anything when it came to Vault 4. The autopsy on the Gulper had returned that the monster had human DNA, and with that horror a reality, an entire battalion of power armored troops with vertebrate support was called in. Overhead sweeps identified a few at night that were quickly gunned down, while others were killed with heavy ordnance. Then came Vault 4. In a few hours fighting the hybrid Gulpers, it became aware that these things were fast and could take a round or two. In the closed, confined environment of a former vault, they were going to be a terror. Everyone going in knew this might be a one-way trip, and more than a few had rigged their power armor to blow if it came to it. They might go down, but these things were going down with them. As the technician punched the override code, she was hoisted away by a vertebrate as everyone spooled up their weapons. As the first squad stepped forward into the vault, they noticed the entrance was surprisingly well kept. When they were suddenly met by a man with a single large eye in the center of his head. Oh, hello, I'm Ben, Overseer Vault 4. How'd you open the door? It seems that when the test subjects were built in Vault 4, the vault wasn't exactly lost, and a stable, if bizarre-looking population of post-humans has been inhabiting the vault ever since. They've done limited trading with the outside world, but for the most part have kept to themselves. Overseer Benjamin is a little skeptical of our claim to be representatives of the U.S. government, but he isn't complaining. Despite the deformities and mutations present in the Vault 4 population, the Overseer was rather alarmed to see slanter scouts that were with our Vault breaching team, though he at least was accepting of them. When pressed for information by one of our officers, the Overseer explained the history of the Vault, how the Hawthorns basically created a hybrid species, and those monsters broke free. Apparently, one of them was his uncle. A disturbing note was the 12th level, where numerous former test subjects have been held in stasis that may or may not be pregnant with these Gulpers or worse. Sadly, he and the members of Vault 4 do not have the means to properly save them, but they have been trying. I could really use the manpower. Alright, we'll take the manpower. It's gonna go immediately into something else. The Sierra and Mojave Enclaves. Granite stood on the landing pad at Fort Sierra, and the vertebrate carrying General Jameson and his command staff touched down. First out was General Jameson himself, who was notified that he would be meeting the president of the Sierra Enclave. Seeing as this was the first true authority the general had known in years, he saluted his new president. Following him was a Major General Swanson, commander of the Mojave Enclave's Air Corps, who saluted the president in kind as well. Much to Granite's surprise, a female ghoul stepped out of the vertebrate as well, and Jameson caught on to this immediately. This is Dr. Strangelove. She's a pre-war robotics engineer and, well, also my ancestor. Granite nodded his head. Well, nice to know we're not the only enclave that decided to accept ghouls. I'm sure she can find a place here in Nevada or beyond. The Enclave accepting ghouls? Now I've seen everything, rasped the doctor, clearly not used to being accepted. The last to step out of the vertebrate was a large man in power armor. Even in power armor, the figure was tall and imposing. A bright colonel rank was emblazoned upon their chest. Colonel Arch Dornan, Jr., reporting for duty, Mr. President. Granite's jaw dropped. Wait, Arch Dornan, Jr.? As in son of Sergeant Major Arch Dornan? The very same, responded the colonel proudly. Your father is standing over there, screaming at the new recruits, pointed out Granite. Tale of two Dornans. Dornan Sr. himself hadn't paid too much attention to the happenings over the landing pad. His focus was on the soldiers he was tasked with training. In the years since the depot election, Dornan had trained up much of the Sierra Enclave soldiers. However, even for being a product of the Sarge program, his age was starting to creep up on him. His last orders were to train the next generation of drill sergeants and instructors from the military before finally retiring. Creeping up, however, was a bit of an understatement, as he was keeping up with the NCO's training to be drill sergeants and easily smoking them. So, when one of his aides spoke, an officer was standing at the edge of the drill pad. Dornan was notably irate. Ordering his platoon to the position of attention and then to stand at ease, he looked over to the power-armored officer, the large colonel rank, seemingly mocking him. Dornan, of course, was a professional soldier and wasn't going to shout at an officer, and instead walked over to inquire why said colonel was standing there. As Dornan approached, the armor opened, and the officer inside stepped out. All right. Father and son reunited. Dornan stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest, as his son stepped out of the imposing power armor, looking like he was staring at a ghost. Over 30 years had passed, and had long moved on, where he believed his son was gone forever. But there he was, in the flesh. If it wasn't for the searing heat, Dornan would think it was a cruel dream. Junior took his position at parade rest, embodying the discipline instilled in him through years of military training. With a steady voice, he managed to speak the words that had been trapped within him for so long. Colonel Arch Dornan Jr. reporting for duty, Dad. Dornan Sr.'s throat tightened as he approached his son. The sight before him was surreal. His boy had grown into the spitting image of him as in his younger years, and in many ways, he still carried traces of the child he once was. Dornan Sr. stood at attention. Everyone, surprised, saluted his son, with their eyes locked and an unspoken bond formed between them. Junior returned the salute with a mixture of pride and disbelief. Then, in an instant that felt like both an eternity and a fleeting moment, they came together in an embrace. Tears streamed down their faces as they held on to each other tightly. Against everything, they were reunited once more. Dornan Sr. stepped back slowly. Friend regained composure while wiping away the tears that betrayed him. He gazed at his boy, a man now, filled with an overwhelming sense of pride. Despite the uniform and rank that separated them in status, to Dornan, Jr. would always be his boy. All right. Overcharged ammunition. Okay, we're all caught up there. Let's get working on this. All right, trade nodes. Still not building anything. Alright, for over 200 years, the Enclave president has wielded a great amount of power within the organization, if not all, with a Congress only given an advisor role and lacking in true power as a legislative branch. But times have changed rapidly, and we are no longer a limited military organization, but a government. How will the role of the president change in the future? Let's see. Like a strong people to bring America to peace to America. We get political power 50. Ruler party will now be called Douglas Granite. Yeah, we're gonna take that. All right, rebuilding a nation is complete. All right. Acquisition of resources. And production in Sac City. Emergency labor draft. Arts and mines. Gain base stability, gain 100 political power. On the EPA. By the Federal Reserve. Chamber of Commerce. Let's go. Emergency labor draft. The rest of the Mojave Enclave arrived. The rest of the Mojave Enclave has arrived, and we're taking full stock of them and where they are headed. So far, no other family relations, such as adornments, have popped up, save for the fact that the Mojave Enclave Chief Quartermaster might be a cousin to Colonel Callahan, but they're not sure. The bulk of the Mojave Enclave is being folded into the army, and they had quite the stock of advanced power armor and energy weapons to boot. Most of the Mojave Enclave were used to operating in small unit tactics and surgical strikes at enemies in a form of guerrilla warfare, and it's going to be some time for them to adapt to large-scale formations again. No different than us. A bonus, however, was that Major General Swanson had managed to get up and running an old vertibird refueling station, and we now got a few wings of vertibirds ready for deployment. Lastly, several of their operatives have joined up with the Enclave Intelligence, Colonel Hallican eager to have experienced field operatives conduct operations. Alright.
Enclave here.
What do we got?
Enclave here.
Mojave Auxiliaries.
Enclave here. This is Enclave Maincom. Enclave here.
Mojave Power Armor. We're going to switch that up to Enclave Power Armor Infantry.
Enclave here.
And we're going to switch you up to Enclave Auxiliaries. There we go.
Enclave here.
Let's put them in this army. Which we need to figure out what to do with all of these guys.
This is Enclave Maincom. Enclave here. This is Enclave Maincom.
Let's change your color a little bit. Propulsion charge. Logistics 4. Enclave Reconstruction Authority. How are we doing as far as recruiting? Yeah, we have a big manpower issue. Our new vice president. As part of Reconstruction, Granite has decided to appoint a vice president, a power reserved to the president pursuant to the 28th Amendment to help manage the nation's divisions. Lynette would help reach an accommodation with the Citizens League and promote their dreams of a managed democracy where there is a place for everyone so long as they are in their place. Congressman Hayes will represent an accommodation with the New World Party, a promise that the reunited states will continue to stumble towards greater equality and freedom for all Americans. But in his darkest moments, Granite wonders if Americans are ready for democracy. Perhaps the president should continue to manage the nation with a firm partner at his side. Sergeant Dornan has been invaluable since the fall of Navarro, and nobody would dare challenge his orders. All right. Freedom of speech. There's been some upsides to the fall of the NCR. By its final hours, the nation was run by an oligarchic alliance between Brahmin barons and caravan companies who turned the NCR's democracy into a joke. They managed to suppress dissent in much of the NCR by buying up or otherwise dealing with hostile reporters and pushed the NCR Senate to pass legislation clamping down on what could and couldn't be published. The fall of the NCR has given writers room to breathe, while the American promise is to many a breath of fresh air. For all the chaos, there's a feeling in the air, a whisper of old world blues and new world hopes. Time will tell whether this will turn into an American spring or a nuclear winter. Repress. the end of the reformers. With the Enclave's rule expanding across Nevada and the destruction of the die-hard purists, Granite has become a president in fact, as well as name. Granite supporters no longer call themselves reformers. They are no longer just Enclave scientists and officers, but include Brahmin barons, casino owners, caravanners, salvagers, vault dwellers, and even a few couriers. This is a problem. All these people have different visions, dreams and visions for America. Granite keep them all united for now by saying his priority is Reconstruction, but this will not last forever. And if Granite stands for nothing, then what will he fall for? Daily intellectual support down for 90 days. The disloyal opposition. One of the greatest surprises of the past few years is that Grant C. Hayes, an old world apologist and Dayglow mayor, has begun fighting with President Granite. Hayes adores the old world and made his political career talking of the need to return to the ways of the old world. Of course, our occupation has softened his once hardline stance somewhat. Hayes has spoken out in support of ghoul rights, greater aid for impoverished wastelanders, and even the need to respect the tribals. This morning, Hayes took to New California Public Radio to announce the formation of a new political party, the New World Party, and that he will push for greater rights for all Americans. He also criticized the hawkish military attitudes of the Enclave's elite, opting for the casual, alternative ways of all good Murphy of California. Ironically, this makes Hayes the best between New California and New America, and he has some thoughts on this indefinite military rule. World of tyranny and serfdom. With the liberation of California, America's cause seems brighter than it has been in 200 years. There are those who oppose the belief that all men are created equal. Caesar's Legion and the Brotherhood, guided by unholy contempt for the human race, have formed an alliance against us. They know that if left unchecked, the United States will save this country, and so they've asked for war. Caesar's Legion guarantees 80s. '80s? I'm not even sure they exist anymore. Oh, no, whatever. The national anthem. The United States must choose a national anthem. Some say we should stick with the Star-Spangled Banner, or perhaps the battle cry of freedom, but Secret Service spies in the Boneyard found a holodisc at a pre-war bar called The Eagle by a singer named RuPaul. Her song American is a hit with the troops, for she's a stars and stripes flying high, red and white and blue. She's me and you. She's American through and through. Let's see. I think we'll just keep the Star-Spangled Banner. Yeah. All right. All right, we can actually spend our political power now. We don't need to save it for dealing with the NCR. Okay. Van Graff's energy weapon manufacturer. Let's go with that. Robco Assaultrons. All right. So that's all done there. We actually have this. I think. It's supposedly mutually exclusive, but we have it, so that's weird. 77%. The bull flinched. One would do well not to underestimate the Legion, but the Legion was not a fool in and of itself. For years, the Legion ready to battle with the two-headed bear, a clashing of titans to decide the fate of the wasteland. Yet speculatores in Frumentari returned news that the bear had retreated. In its place flew the banner of the old world. The stars and stripes now bordered the Colorado as individuals in black power armor with glowing eyes watched the river, and vertibirds soared overhead. The specter of the old world had risen and claimed ownership of these lands once more. Caesar was ready to face the NCR, but the Enclave, the United States? No, he would wait. Build his army more, assimilate more tribes. Until then, he would send an emissary overing a truce between the two powers. When he knew both sides would break in time. Alright, we get a truce and ceasefire with Caesar's Legion for 2 years. Alright, good. Military training is complete. Cybernetic enhancements, we'll go with that. Alright, we got this national focus done. Let's get requisition of resources. Resistance is an issue. But there's not much I can do about it. Factories in use. Pirates off California's coast. Well, never seen as a focus by the NCR government, the NCR Navy did have one purpose that saw it funded even as the Army and Air Force took priority. It kept the pirates at bay. Either operating from motherships that sailed from Californian ports from further north, from Port Mall, seemingly derelict ships at sea. Even those who venture forth from South America, they kept California's coast safe and trade open. But now those vessels are at the bottom of the sea, and word has spread far and wide the collapse of the NCR. Already, Enclave intelligence is noting increased signal traffic across the west coast as those who prey on shipping are moving to fill the power vacuum left by the destruction of the NCR Navy. Surprisingly, the Enclave is no stranger to pirates. They've had to fend off multiple attempts to storm the rig by marauding sea raiders not long after the Great War. Of which was another contributing factor to the Navy's demise before the rig went up. If we are to be the representative government of the people, we must ensure that our reach is not limited to land. It means building up a navy to protect the coast against any threats, as well as protecting trade ships from pirates as well. Well, yeah, we're going to be building a navy eventually, once things kind of settle down a little bit. Canadian pirates joined the Brotherhood. The north of Washington lies Broken Coast, where pirates bludgeon their prey to death with Canada's sacred clubs. They're fearsome hockey sticks. We'd hope they'd serve as a nuisance to the Brotherhood and tie down their flanks. No, they formed a blood pact with the Brotherhood to seize California, which can offer far more loot and slaves than the Northwest. Should war with the Washington Brotherhood break out, they may try to harass our coasts and supply lines. Of course, the United States Navy wet its teeth fighting pirates 500 years ago. Now it's time to pick up old habits. With the collapse of New California's treasury, we'll have to fill in the gap with Enclave Reconstruction Authority script and bottle caps. Unfortunately, this will let the counterfeiters with the ability to inject false currency into the economy. We need to revive the banking system and put a stop to this. Alright, I think we need to prioritize working on naval research. Alright. Yeah, we don't even have, like, canoes. Alright, get on it.
Enclave here. This is Enclave main comm. Enclave here.
2, 3. Let's see. I need 7 more. 4 mechanized and 3 armored. Uh-oh. Alright, requisition of resources. Let's go with hearts and minds. We need to get that resistance target down. With the fall of the Troll War, and the Raider faction under Paladin Rodriguez is eager for new plunder. They have set their sights on another isolated settlement, and it seems no one shall stop them. Washington Brotherhood gains war goal against Eastport. Corsairs raid the coast. We've just gotten word that one of the coastal settlements was subjected to a raid by pirates operating along the Californian coast. The pirates struck early in the morning using a rolling fog to hide their approach. By the time response forces arrived, the town was in flames and with dozens dead, and what few survivors we found severely wounded. They tell us the pirates captured many of the settlers and took them back to their ships. No doubt to sell them into slavery. We've conducted several patrols in the area. So far, nothing's been found. I wonder if the effects of Enclave brain drain. We need to get construction going. CNC iBots. High power optics. Ballistic fibers. Boats.
This is Enclave main comm.
Let's see if that helps. Nukaland. Before the Great War, New Reno was home to a park full of rides and games called Nukaland, although not as impressive as its East Coast counterpart. We can revive it as a symbol of the promise of the better times to come. We can also test some experiments on the park goers. Construction speed. We're gonna pass. Hearts and minds. Oh yeah, we need to end the episode here. Let's get Department of Education going. Yeah, we just need to get through all of this. All right, then. All right, but we'll go ahead and end the episode here, and we'll keep on working on this when we come back. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next time.